Bienvenidos, señores y señores, to another episode of the Bleed Lows Podcast. This episode of the Bleed Lows Podcast is brought to you by Bet Online. Bet Online continues to be your number one source for all your basketball wagering needs, including pro and college hoops throughout the year. With up-to-the-minute odds, stats, and trends, you can follow your favorite team's path to the playoffs with in-game live betting, contests, and all the best player props. Experience the world's best wagering platform anytime from your desktop or your mobile devices. Head to BetOnline today to become a part of the team. And remember to use the promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, the game starts here. Jubile Sangrones, and as we can see, we got some people already on the chat. Joining us on the show is Alonzo and Babyface. Canelo is on assignment, ladies and gentlemen. Canelo is actually covering the Grapefruit League. So I know he was in the chat earlier, so maybe we might hear some comments from Canelo. But all right, let you guys all know, for any new people that are out there, here are the rules. If you guys want to help us grow the show, if you're on here right now or you're watching through YouTube, make sure you guys are subscribed to the YouTube channel. Hit that notification button. Give us the thumbs up. If you want, look, this is an interactive show. Okay, we want you guys we want to hear from you. So the way you guys can cut through the line and the way you can also support the show is by doing a super chat. You give us a super chat and your comment will go to the very front of the line. For those of you who weren't able to join us on the live and now you're listening to it on the podcast, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast and, rate us, write us a review. Also, make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel and do everything that I just described. We got the regulars on here. Nando's on here. Michael Negrete's on here. Roy Estrada is here. Simeon's here. Pablo, Dennis Gonzalez.
Canelo's also here. Did you see his comment there?
Is Canelo's? Juan Ramos is here. Hey, el presidente de la comunidad de los guapos is here. Carlos Sanchez. Oh, okay. Okay, here we go. We got a live report. As you guys can see, Canelo is in Florida. He is covering the Grapefruit League, and he's giving us an update right here. The biggest news is that it's hotter in Florida than it is in Arizona. The source is my skin. So I'm afraid that our dear friend Canelo does not tan. He strokes. So hopefully you get back safely, Canelo. We're out there. Sunblock will be your friend, my friend. Take care of yourself.
Stay hydrated.
Exactly. Alonzo, how are you, man?
I'm all right. I noticed that we're in an abysmal pit of pain because the Dodgers lost today to the Mariners. But I mean, otherwise I'm good. I mean, I'm not in the pit of pain.
Babyface, I know you had brought this topic up. We're going to start. I'm going to start with good news before we go. But you mentioned that there's some panic out there. Are you feeling panic, Babyface?
I'm not feeling panic, but you go on the Twitters or the X, whatever you want to call it, right? And Yamamoto, right? He's had two not so great starts, right? If you look at it, right? So you're starting to see it, like, especially on the the Bob Nightingale tweets, like you're getting all the haters jumping on there. But I've seen on other posts where it's Dodger fans, and it seems like they're worried, right, with Yamamoto, with what's going on. And I mean, it's spring training, right? Like we've been saying this for a while now. It's spring training. I mean, it was kind of a mixed bag with him, right? In his first start, looked great. Second start, he had some issues with the defense, but still the runs were charged to him. And then today he gave up like another 4 runs, right? But he had like 14 strikeouts and like 9 total innings. So it's kind of like a mixed bag. He's throwing strikes and they were just jumping on him today. Kind of like what we see kind of with Kershaw. Like they know these are going to be strikes and they were just jumping on him. So it's going to be, an adjustment period. I mean, every time he goes out, these guys haven't seen him. And then next time around, they adjust to him. So it's going to just kind of go back and forth until he kind of gets fully adjusted.
Before we get into the show, guys, before you guys start putting this in the chat, this was my bad. I forgot to do this, but I want to give you guys a quick update on La Princesa de Picolandia. There is still a possibility that she might join us today. We just don't know when she's going to drop in. She was chomping on the bit to come on the show and give an update. I just want to warn you guys, if she does join the show, her face is covered in bandages and band-aids. Alonso, what did you say the show was going to be like today?
What did I say? Oh, Kenny. First of all, you're a dick. But Kenny Powers and Frankenstein, because Alicia said a Frankenstein gif of herself. So all in good fun, all in jest, which, by the way, is good. The fact that she's joking around and just kind of being herself. Honestly, we're stoked to hear that she was also chomping at the bit to come on. I was surprised because it's just like, yo, relax. Hay más tiempo que vida. Relax.
Yeah, I was surprised too that she said she wanted to come on. So she may make a surprise visit. But as you can see, she is still recovering. But the good thing is she is in good spirits, and we can't thank you guys enough for sending all the good vibes, all the positive vibes, and helping her during the healing process. So at this point, yeah, look, I just love that line, man. I wanted to give you credit for it. The fact that you referred to Frankenstein and Kenny Powders. I thought that was Kenny Powders.
Your doppelganger.
Dude, I thought it was a great line. I give you credit. See, I show you love. All right. Before we get into the Yamamoto thing, let's start positive, guys. And so I want to start with Tyler Glasnow, because this dude's last two starts, and I get it. For all the people are saying it's just spring training with Yamamoto, I know you can say the same thing with Tyler Glasnow, that it's just spring training. But Alonso, this dude has looked very impressive. And I know that in the beginning of the season, everybody was hinting at like Yamamoto is going to be the ace of this staff. Dude, if we see this from Tyler Glasnow, I mean, I think he might be the one that's going to end up being the ace of the staff.
Well, I mean, we talked about it, right? Kind of when everything happened, when all the dominoes fell, if you will. You know, Cody and I both alluded to it. I think he's going to be your guy, and if he's locked in, he has some of the most scary, just filthy stuff in all of baseball. And right now, he's locked in, and which I think is great heading into the series. I mean, we also have to remember they have to be a little more locked in than usual because the season is starting in a weird way. And him and Yamamoto are the 1 and 2 starters for that Seoul Series. So they kind of have to be game ready a little sooner than everybody else, which obviously will throw, a hamper in kind of your game planning. And so, I mean, Glasnow, I mean, he's looked dominant, right? Like, I mean, against the Giants, I think he was 5 and 5 and I think 5 and a third and basically no hit. I mean, he struck out 8 dudes. That's kind of what you want going into your first start of the season. So, and I think he only had 1 walk, which is good to see. You keep that walk rate down, keep the strike rate up, and you have command of your stuff. And to your point, like with Yamamoto, these dudes are going to swing at strikes. He's throwing strikes. I mean, that's just kind of a part of the deal. But, going back to Glasnow, him being dominant right now going into, the build-up to the Seoul Series, great. I love to see it. That's kind of what I was hoping we would get out of him. And to your point, all these other guys had all of the attention, right? The Kershaws even that weren't really a part of the roster yet. Yamamoto, obviously, with the contract and how all that stuff went down. And we talked about this. The Shoheis and the Yamamotos, what they do is they kind of help take and ease the burden of pressure off on some of these other guys so they can go out and do just this. And Glasnow, hey, man, if we get that all year, which knock on wood, I hope we do, I mean, he could have a Cy Young year, right? I'm not going to like put the horse ahead of the carriage, but if this dude is locked in, absolutely can be your ace, and I wouldn't be mad about it.
Babyface, is it possible that a guy who's like almost 7 feet, can he go under the radar? I mean, doesn't it at least doesn't it calm your nerves to know that this guy so far, I mean, he looks pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, Glasnow has always been pretty good, right? It's been the injury bug that's hampered him, right? So as long as he can stay away from that, I mean, last year he pitched, I think, the most innings he's pitched. Canelo has him as a Cy Young pick. Every time he pitches, Canelo's like, that's my Cy Young pick. That's my Cy Young pick. And I mean, so far so good. Like, it's what you want to see in spring. Like Alonso was mentioning against the Giants. I mean, he went out. Dave Roberts had to pull him during the no-hitter.
That's look. Hey, Dave Roberts is already in midseason form. Come to spring training. Look, if Canelo's so smart and he's picking Glasnow to win the Cy Young, why didn't he bring Aloe Vera with him down to Florida?
SPF 1000, bro. They make it.
Yeah, if I was Canelo, man, I'd be like head to toe covered in. Look, I get the curse of the pale skin. You just got to be prepared for these kind of things. All right, look, that's the good. Let's. I know everybody's chomping at the bit at this Yamamoto thing. Let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so today, look, the first 3 innings, he looked good. I mean, he had what was it, babyface? Check me on this. I think he had like 5 Ks through the first 3 innings. He looked really good. It was that 4th and that 5th inning when the Mariners were swinging at the first pitch, and there was hard contact. And so, Alonso, you're a former pitcher. We've heard this from Yamamoto in the past in terms of him pitching out of the stretch, and it just seems like he was a different pitcher. And new contributor to Dodgers Beat, Mike Salas, was down in the Cactus League today covering that, and he was saying that there was maybe issues with Yamamoto's release, and that was contributing it. What did you see with Yamamoto, and why is it that the Mariners were so successful against him in that 4th and that 5th inning?
I mean, I just think he's tipping his pitches. I mean, he has an adjustment period because here at this level, there's subtle things obviously that you can do in Japan that you cannot do here. And so he has to work through that, like you were talking, pitching from the stretch, adjusting, the way that you release. Like, I mean, if you watch his bullpens, just the release time separating from the glove to the stretch, you can see when he's here, you can see what he's throwing, right? And so these dudes look out for that sort of stuff. And so it's one of those things where he just has to adjust to that. And then also, I mean, it's not like he was throwing anything terrible. Like, it wasn't any of that. He was throwing strikes. So, I mean, he's got elite command. Really what it comes down to is if you're giving the hitter any sort of advantage, they're obviously going to pounce on that. And that's what's happened the last little bit. I mean, like you said, the first couple innings, kind of the first going through of the lineup, everything's great. It's exactly what you want. He just needs to adjust that. And I know this is going to piss some people off, but I think he is right where he needs to be, given that the Seoul Series is so soon. But he's right in that window where he needs to be, where he's kind of getting acclimated to the speed of the game. He's getting acclimated to the strike zone. He's getting acclimated to, to his catchers, all that stuff. Now, really what he just has to do is tighten some things up. And one of the things you got to tighten up is just how you pitch out of the stretch. And that's not a bad thing. If anything, I would be concerned if the game were to start off where he's given up 8 or 9 hits just right out the gate and he's walking dudes, has no command, all that sort of stuff. That would concern me. In the spring is when you want these dudes to kind of have a little bit of contact. And to your point, they were making contact, but it's kind of like the Astros thing. They know what's coming. So when you have professional hitters there and they know what's coming, they're obviously going to try to rock it. And so I think all in, though, I think he's kind of where he needs to be. He just needs to tighten up a couple things. And the Dodgers have also alluded to it. And so I feel good about it. I don't feel bad about it. And really the big test will be in Seoul. I mean, that adjustment is going to be the biggest one because that's game speed at that point because it's real games.
Yeah, I mean, look, the contact was hard, but I think also you have to tip your hat to the Mariners because they were going opposite field on him. Like they were doing that was professional hitting that you were seeing from the Mariners in that 4th and the 5th inning. Babyface, why are you not worried about Yamamoto? I know you were mentioning earlier it's about adjustments. It's about adjustments. It seems that that's what was happening in the ball game the second time around. The Mariners hitters were making adjustments and they were out there swinging at the first pitch on him. But what have you seen from spring training that makes you feel no pasa nada? He'll be fine.
I mean, because you saw it. I mean, you mentioned it. The first 3 innings, he was filthy. Like, I mean, he was on command. He was throwing those strikes, he was fooling those guys. I mean, some big league hitters, right? I mean, I think he got Julio Rodriguez in there a couple of times, right? So I've seen his arsenal, right? And I saw it when I was at camp. I mean, these guys, when they go up to face him, they don't know what's coming, right? And just his command. Like he's always around the zone. So, they were jumping on that first pitch. And I think like we said, they adjusted to him and he's going to make those adjustments back. Right. And this is his first time in MLB. So it's going to take a little adjustment period kind of to get settled in. And I think after that, he's fine.
Look, officially, this is the end of the Cactus League for the Dodgers. They'll be leaving for Korea tomorrow. They went 13-5 last year. I think they were like 500, and they ended up winning 100 games. So I know you can't put too much stock into what they do in spring training, but actually, I was very surprised by their spring training record because I always thought that what they're going to be doing is just putting in their work. Working on whatever they need to work on, but it was the B team that would come back and win these games. So I think that was very encouraging. But now that they're going to be going to Korea and they named their starters, so game 1 is going to be Tyler Glasnow versus Yu Darvish, and game 2 we're going to have Yamamoto against Joe Musgrove. Alonso, based on how Tyler Glasnow I honestly, before they announced it, I thought Yamamoto was going to pitch game 1. Now, maybe my thinking is Yamamoto versus Darvish in Korea. That's a TV like gold mine. But I have to be honest with myself. The way Tyler Glasnow has pitched, I believe he has earned that opening day start. In terms of the pitching matchups that you're going to see in Korea, Alonso, what are your thoughts on those?
I agree 100% with you. Based on how Glasnow is pitched, that's the dude, right? That's the dude kind of coming out of the spring that should absolutely be getting the ball. And I mean, and like I said, I mean, the Dodgers were happy with what Yamamoto did in the spring. There's going to be an adjustment period. We talked about that even when they signed him. And at the end of the day, it's a different level, right? I mean, the fact that he's still hanging at this level with having only pitched here for the first time, granted, I know it's the spring, that's still impressive because there's, first round picks that could be show ready that struggle at this level. So it's one of those things where you kind of see what it is. But the pitching matchups I do dig. To your point, I actually did expect it to be kind of the Japan versus Japan situation. But I'm not mad with how that shook out. And even at that, obviously the Padres made a trade today. They acquired Dylan Cease. I don't think we're gonna see him there, but he'll be there, and they're making some noise and doing the thing. So I mean, I still think out of the two, I honestly think it'll be really good pitching with because it's Musgrove and Glasnow, if I'm not mistaken, right?
No, it's
or is it the other way?
Glasnow is going to be facing Darvish, and then Yamamoto is going to be facing Musgrove.
Oh, okay, I had it backwards. I'm sorry. I like the Glasnow Darvish thing because Darvish has also been talking some shit, and so it's one, and he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, and so that's going to be cool. And then Glasnow just making his debut, I think it's just going to be big to see, just because I know he's been really excited to be a part of this team and to just kind of get the thing going. But for me, what's weird about all this? A, I don't pay attention to the spring training records, and B, it's so crazy that baseball's starting so soon. I was talking to my wife about this, and it's one of those, like, the travel is weird too, like the way they're going about it. And then they come back and then they play the Angels in the Freeway Series, and then they go back to playing. So they go back to playing exhibition and then back to major league games, right? And so that whole part of it's weird. So I'm really actually interested in how that's going to affect them, because you obviously you go into game mode, then you have to turn it off, kind of chill for a minute. Obviously your body's going to be feeling weird after jet lag. And then you go back.
Do you think Major League Baseball should have canceled that Freeway Series?
I don't know, if I'm honest. I feel like if you were gonna, with what they're trying to do, you have to do them really close to actual opening day, right? And so it's kind of a weird spot where you're in. But like, my only worry would be that the guys are just going to be out of sorts, kind of going from game mode back into the game. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's some cobwebs that kind of have to knock around. That's really my only worry, if I'm completely honest with you. But I mean, they'll adjust. I mean, everyone's pretty locked in. I think it's fair to say, as you kind of look around, everyone that you expect to make the roster, they're pretty locked in. Obviously Shohei's really locked in. So like you have kind of your usual suspects, and you still have to hash out some things. And I know we're going to talk about him. A guy that I'm curious to see how his kind of this trip and going into the season goes is Gavin Lux, because there's been kind of a lot going on with him. But other than that, I think it'll be interesting. But I don't think, based on what they're trying to do, canceling wouldn't make sense to do that, because then you also have to give the guys a chance to kind of reacclimate. And so it's, again, I'd rather reacclimate in an exhibition than a real game. So I guess that's the pro to the con, if you will. But we'll see, man. It's going to be interesting because that's not an easy trip. That's really not an easy trip.
Babyface, are you saddened by the fact that we were robbed of Yamamoto versus Darvish?
I mean, like you said, it'd be nice to see, but I didn't really expect him probably to get that opening day start. But I mean, Glasnow Darvish isn't no snoozer either, right? So it's going to be exciting, And the thing about spring training, right? Like we were talking about, they get Musgrove on the second night, and remember when the Dodgers faced him in spring training, Dodgers kind of lit him up in that first inning. I mean, I don't expect that to happen in Korea, but we'll see. But getting back to your point where you're saying, having them maybe go right into the season with no freeway series, and what Alonso was saying, yeah, you don't want them to come back. They're going to be like kind of getting their feet back on the ground, right? Trying to getting ready now for the season. To me, it's kind of weird, like that they are starting their 2 games then off. It kind of makes more sense to not have those games count, right? Like they did the Dominican series. Those games were exhibition games, and then they went back to exhibition games. So something along those lines. But yeah, I think that's the only way to do it. Like play those games, come back, a couple more exhibition games, kind of get your feet back on the ground, and then start up again.
Yeah, I mean, it does. I mean, would you have rather that they have this series in the middle of the year? Like, I think it's better that they get it out of the way at the beginning of the season and not have to, like last year. What was it? I think it was the Cubs and the Cardinals, right?
Yeah.
Went to London in the middle of, like, I'd hate to do. And I get it because the growth for Major League Baseball is international. So I get why they're doing these things. But for the players, it's got to suck because, let's get into it right now. Will Smith was scratched from the game today because of back stiffness. And I know, Babyface, you asked this question, so I'm going to go to you first. Do you put Will Smith on a plane to Korea and have him play in those 2 games if he's experienced his back stiffness? Or are we just like looking into this way too much and he's fine?
Well, to me, it's like that's the last thing you kind of want to do, right? How long's that flight? Like 14 hours, 15 hours? So to be sitting, you have Will Smith whose back just tightened up, and you're going to put him on a plane to sit for that amount of time.
It's a long flight. I think it's like 16 hours. It's a really long flight.
I don't know if that's the best. If you remember, how did Kershaw originally kind of tweak his back, right? It was that flight to Australia, and then he kind of, from after that, it's been an issue for him. So, I wouldn't send Will Smith. I'd just keep him home and, send Hunter and Austin or something, and just go with that, or even Diego.
So if you, just out of curiosity, to make sure I understand my rules right, so if Will doesn't go, you put him on the IL, and then you call somebody up, or however you go about it. It would be just like in season play, correct?
You have to put him on the IL?
Yeah, I don't think you have to put him on the IL, right?
That's the question I've had with this, is like since the roster construction thing, I think they're sending 31, if I'm not mistaken, for each team. So
but only 26 are going to be active.
Correct. Yeah, 26 will be active.
So that's why I'm like, do you have to put him on the IL?
See, and that's the question I have. If it's like
regular, I know like Paxton's not going.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Paxton isn't going. There's another name that escapes me right now. Who else? There's somebody else that's not going either, right?
Yeah, they haven't formally announced. Brewstar's not going.
Brewstar, that's
Brewstar's got some physical
he might
ailment.
be an IL stint, though.
He might be an actual IL stint.
Yeah, he might actually be an IL stint.
So it isn't just like this, where it's like a healthy scratch or something like that.
And just to put it out there, and you guys in the chat, keep me honest here, because I don't know if this is true, but the first start that Yamamoto made in spring training, I think Will Smith caught him, right? Or was it Austin Barnes that caught him?
It's been Barnes.
It's been
So
I think it's been
Barnes has caught him all 3 games.
So it makes sense that Barnes is going to catch him in Korea, right? Why would you
Yeah.
all of a sudden switch him to Will Smith? On his first game.
Yeah, I mean, if Austin Barnes, I know this is job security for Austin Barnes, being Yamamoto's personal catcher, but I mean, if that's the case, I'm curious as to who Glasnow has thrown to. I'm sure Glasnow's thrown to Will Smith. Okay, that's what I thought. Michael Carrillo came on here and said Will Smith caught him in that first outing. So that's what I had initially thought. So Michael, keep me honest here, okay? Will Smith catches him the first outing, and Yamamoto doesn't give up any runs. Barnes catches him, and he hasn't looked as dominant. So I know I know you guys already mentioned the Danny Duffy Award, and I know Barnes is always a contender for the Danny Duffy Award. But is that me looking for something? Am I making a mountain out of a molehill by saying maybe Barnes isn't the best guy to be catching Yamamoto?
No, I mean, at the end of the day too, though, I'll have to look at it too. I'm pretty sure Will's caught both and Austin's caught both. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong. Michael Negrete, keep us honest, because honestly, I don't know. This may surprise you, but I don't really pay attention to the catchers all that much when these guys are going.
Well, I did find, because I found it interesting that Smith was supposed to catch him today.
Yeah.
Of course he got scratched because of the back tightness. But yeah, I mean, what do you do in those situations? Do you send Will Smith for 2 games? And this is, again, one of the things that I understand about this is you do have to grow the game.
Right.
But this whole thing at the very, when people are saying they're concerned, this is my concern, is the health of this team. And if they end up getting off to a slow start because of the fact of these little ticky-tack injuries that they're nursing, that's something that I'm just like, well, what are you going to do? Because this is important for Major League Baseball to grow the game internationally.
No, 100%. But I mean, in the same breath, it's not really worth it to risk the injury of a guy, right? So I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he ends up being a part of the 31 that goes, but it also wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't go. Because if he doesn't go, then I would be a little concerned, just because that means that the back stiffness is maybe something a little more, not trying to read into it, but it's a long flight. It's, even in business class, that's a long ass flight. So I think it's like 14, 16 hours, something like that. And so for me, I mean, if the stiffness, if obviously when he gets there, or when they get there and he's not there, well, then that's all we kind of need to know. But also it could be precautionary too, because the season's also literally right around the corner. So, I actually, now that I think of it, I hadn't noticed if Barnes or Smith or anyone else had caught him, for that matter. So thanks, Juan. Now you have me thinking.
Juan,
no, I could have.
Go ahead. It was Barnes. I'm checking the box score right now and checking the video. It's Barnes.
So Barnes
been,
Barnes has caught him in all the games then.
Yeah, all 3 games.
So then you guys are perfect. If Will Smith doesn't go, well, I mean, look, they're probably going to send another catcher. They have to. So you're going to have Barnes catch, the second game. So does that mean Hunter Fiducia is going to catch the first game if Will Smith doesn't go?
I would assume so. Yeah. I mean, that would make all the sense in the world. Has Hunter, Roger, will you look? Has Hunter caught any of these guys? I honestly don't know.
I mean, I know he came into games later. I don't know exactly. So he probably didn't get any of the main starters, right? But I'll check. I'll check the games.
Yeah, check, because I honestly, I like I said, I haven't paid attention to it in the slightest. That makes me probably a bad fan, but whatever. But
what's really happening in this situation is Will Smith doesn't want to go to Korea.
That could
so
be
he just said, "Oh, my back and my neck and my back," and they're like, "All right, man, we're not going to send you."
Well, I will say Pablo XH34, so far leader in the clubhouse. Will Smith can get a decent massage when he gets there. Well done, sir. Well, I mean, that's out of line, but well done.
Yeah, I hope this story has a happy ending. I really do. So,
There he is.
hi, Two Shows Nightly at the Pacoima Hilton. Thank you very much, everybody. DJ Jesse brings up a very interesting point. I do feel like Oki has gotten a lot of playing time in the spring, but honestly, Alonzo, how do you think that conversation is happening right now in the front office about Will Smith?
I think they're gonna look at, hey, how bad is it? If it is just back stiffness, I mean, it happens, then nothing to worry about. But obviously, you still have to have kind of your ducks in a row in case, because you obviously don't want a guy to start the season off in the IL. I don't think it's that. I just think honestly, it's just back stiffness, and they're just taking it day by day and seeing how it goes. But if it's bothering him enough, where they're gonna be like, yo, what do you think here? If the guy says, hey, just to be safe, I'm going to stay, that's what they're going to do, because it's not really worth it for 2 games that at the beginning of the season, like if they go 0-2, is it really going to be the needle mover because of Will Smith, right? And so you kind of have to weigh and hedge all your bets that way. But for me, if it's my star catcher, if the stiffness is bad enough where it's like, hey, does it hurt to sit or whatever, just stay. It ain't even worth it.
See, this is why I love this show. Nando comes in here with Will Smith just needs a good sobadora from El Monte. See, this is the kind of breakdown that you get only on this show. This is why you have to join the Carne Asada, because where else are you going to get a sobadora reference? I know you're not going to get it on all the other Dodger shows. This is the only place where you're going to get a sobadora.
Will you explain what a sobadora is to Cody Snavely, who I know is listening to the show?
Yeah, Canelo, see, what a sobadora is it's basically a Mexican Mr. Miyagi. So I'm going to try to explain it. This is where he's going to go, this is what Canelo's going to say to me. He goes, who's Mr. Miyagi? Who the fuck is Mr. Miyagi? So
wax on, wax off. Just if you don't know that, Cody, we have a fucking problem.
So, I mean, it'll be interesting. I'm sure, look, it'll be breaking news tomorrow as to who's on that plane and who is not on that plane. But Michael Carrillo brings it up also. I mean, they are still going to have 2 exhibition games out there. That's the reason why Bobby Miller's making this trip, because he's going to pitch in one of those games.
Does it surprise you that Blake Trinan's going?
No, because I mean, that guy's tough, man. I mean, that guy is tough. And look, I think the bullpen is probably the most important part that's traveling in this, because I don't expect much length from the starters. Even if Glasnow, I think, is just mowing them all down. We know how this organization works. They're not going to let him go deep in the game. So you are going to need relievers. Because I think Michael Grove for sure is going, and Babyface. Have they announced if Yarborough's going to go?
I'd assume he's probably going. But Trinan had a bruised lung.
Yeah, like it's not like lung. It isn't something like, hey, I'm just going to walk that off. It's a bruised lung.
Dude, Trinan is the Chuck Norris of the Dodgers. He just really threw a bullpen today for 20 pitches, and he said he's fine.
Yeah, like I can't even imagine what having a bruised lung must feel like. Like that inside. Like it's not just like, right, you know what I mean? Like if you get hit right here, it's one thing, but inside, shit.
Dude, how did he not break a rib if he has a bruised lung?
That's also, I mean, well, again, if you're the Chuck Norris of the Dodgers, I guess, ribs don't break you, you break ribs.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what's happening here.
Did anyone check on the ball?
Yeah, make sure the ball's okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, the ball is dead. The ball had to get thrown out. Look, since we are playing the show pods out there was some breaking news. Actually, there's 2 pieces of breaking news. One is from earlier in the day, but I think there's one that just broke right now, Babyface, about Devin Williams. Did you see that? Check me on this.
He has something with a vertebrae. Let me see.
He has a stress fracture in his back.
Both sides of Williams' T12 vertebrae. They're going to shut him down for 6 weeks and rehab for another 6.
Yeah, so he's going to miss 3 months, and I know that that's a guy that the Dodgers have been, that I know a lot of the fans have been saying, like, hey, let's go ahead and trade for Devin Williams. I mean, that seems like that's a pretty serious injury there.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds painful. I'm not gonna lie. Like there's the stiff back, pain that Will Smith has, and then what Devin Williams has. Like, hey man, I hope that goes smooth and the rehab is smooth. But damn, like shutting it down for 6 weeks and then hoping for not having anything worse. I can't imagine. But I mean, it's it's also kind of one of those things too where it sounds like he may have avoided surgery of any sort, so that's good. But it's still either way that's brutal. That's out of the two, that's brutal. I mean, I didn't want Dylan Cease either, if I'm completely honest. Like I know we talked about that, and I know Cody is on the anti Dylan Cease train. I saw him tweeting about it earlier. I don't remember what he said.
He was celebrating, is what he was doing.
Is that what he was doing?
Well, he refers to Canelo refers to Dylan Cease as a ticking time bomb.
That's what it was.
He thinks that Dylan Cease is an arm injury waiting to happen. I love this show because only on this show can we get references like DJ Jesse saying Will Smith needs a Milanesa sandwich from Tito's. Goddamn, Milanesa sandwiches are so good. I mean,
really
I get mine from the Norgay. I usually when I bring my own food to Dodger Stadium, that's my drug of choice is una torta de Milanesa. But hey, Dennis, I got a question for you. It seems like you experienced a bruised lung injury.
Oh,
did you break your ribs, Dennis? And if that is the case, like if you avoided breaking your ribs, like how do you get a lung injury and not break your ribs, Dennis? Inquiring Minds wants to know.
I really want to know that too, because like that math don't math. Like that sound like it just doesn't make sense.
Joining us on the live, and I have a special announcement here. Some of you guys already may know this, but Doom Sal is joining us from Arizona. Doom Sal he was at Camelback today. Doom Sal is going to be covering the Dodgers now for Dodgers Beat. So Doom Sal is going to be a contributor, and maybe we need to find a way to get Doom Sal on the actual live instead of the chat, babyface. But Doom Sal, if you can hear me, I saw that you were putting some notes together on Yamamoto. I'd love to hear what you saw today with Yamamoto in that game. Let's talk about the Dylan Cease thing. I know someone earlier had mentioned that. Okay, I'm sorry, Pablo. Again, my hat's off to you, man. Will Smith needs La Rosa de Guadalupe to heal.
Santo Niño de Antocha.
Hey, Canelo, once again, La Rosa de Guadalupe is this. Okay, anyways.
Well, we'll tell him later.
Damn, Dennis Gonzalez rollover car accident outside of Baker, leaving a Dodger game April 27th. No, ribs did not break. So I guess I just isn't that what your rib cage is there, is to protect your lung?
That's what I was taught in school.
I'm glad that you recovered, Dennis. Let's go to this Dylan Cease thing, because I know someone that someone had said earlier, how does Dylan Cease going to the Padres affect the National League West? And Alonzo, I got to tell you, I don't know what the show pods are doing. The show pods just traded their best player in Juan Soto, and then they traded even more prospects. From what was being reported is they had a number 5, a number 8 in their farm system. And I know they traded 4 players on there, but look, I know that the show pods aren't in a rebuild, but giving away prospects, I don't know. You're much smarter than I am when it comes to baseball. So you tell me, Alonzo, what are they doing?
Well, I appreciate the compliment, but I'm not. I don't know, dude. If I'm completely honest, like I get, obviously you lost Hader, you lost Lugo, you lost Nick Martinez, you lost Michael Wacha, you lost Blake Snell, who is still available. Honestly, I don't know. And I know, I mean, Joe Musgrove and Yu Darvish are 2 really solid pieces for any rotation. And obviously it's not Yu Darvish of old, but it's still a very effective Yu Darvish. Dylan Cease, obviously he addresses, because after that, there is kind of this lack of experience in their rotation. Dylan Cease kind of addresses that to a certain degree. I know what was it? I think it was 2 years ago. He had like a sub 2.5 ERA, with a pretty good strikeout rate, kind of through the entire season. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, he may have been runner up to Verlander when in the Cy Young balloting, if I'm not mistaken. But he's 28, so he's not on the wrong side of 30. Obviously he didn't replicate kind of that the ace quality stuff last year. Last year was kind of a rough year for him. I think he hit he threw like 4.5 ERA, maybe even slightly higher. Like it wasn't great. And so I to Cody's point, I agree that he's kind of a ticking time bomb. I don't like his delivery. I'm not a huge fan of it. So I think that's what Cody alludes to, but I honestly don't know. I mean, Cody is also a habitual line stepper, so he could just be hating to hate. But but I think if everything were to go kind of to plan, and if he were to kind of like hit the middle of the road where he had an ERA in like the 350 range, kind of in the middle of the road from last year into what he was in a couple years ago, it's not a bad pickup for the Padres, but I still don't understand what the Padres are doing. Overall, I don't know what they're doing. I do know it's salary, right? They're trying to move on from salary. There is no chance that they were going to sign Juan Soto to whatever he's going to sign for. And so I and even that, like you traded for Soto with, I mean, obviously if you're trading for a guy like that, the expectation is you're going to keep him, and they obviously didn't keep him. And so I didn't really understand that either. So I really don't know what the Padres are doing. Do I think it helps the NL West? Yeah, I mean, it could. I mean, they still have a pretty good team. I mean, we can't forget Fernando Tatis Jr. plays there. Xander Bogaerts plays there. Manny Machado plays there. So, I mean, they got some dudes. Like, they definitely absolutely got dudes. But is it one of those things where we can sit here and say that they're going to give the Dodgers a run for their money? That's where it's kind of objective, right? And so, and I think we all agree that answer is probably no. So I long story short, I don't know what the Padres are doing, because they have all these guys, but they're not necessarily building either. But it is kind of a rebuild, but it's not. So it's very confusing.
Look, I know Borna was excited about it, but I also know Borna hates AJ Preller. So I think Michael Carrillo has a very interesting suggestion here, and that is if the show pods aren't competing, they could always trade Cease later on and flip them for some of those prospects that they lost. But yeah, Alonso, if you look at it on paper, what you just said, you have a rotation of Darvish, Dylan Cease, Musgrove, that King kid that they got from the Yankees, and I think it's probably their fifth starter is going to be one of their prospects. I mean, that is, if that pitching holds up, and I'm a firm believer, if you have good enough pitching, you're going to hang in there in the division. But like Michael Carrillo says, yeah, the Giants and the D-backs, they're all fighting for second, but this is a tournament now, right? In Major League Baseball. So all you have to do is just get in and take your chances from there. Babyface, you are the expert on all things show pods. How do you feel about the show pods getting Dylan Cease?
I mean, I'm kind of with what you guys are saying and Cody's been saying. I mean, I don't really see it moving the needle that much, right? I mean, they're in the division fighting the D-backs and the Giants, I think, right? And you guys mentioned Yu Darvish. Yu Darvish isn't the same Yu Darvish from 5-6 years ago. I mean, I think Yu Darvish is on a very fast decline, and I don't see much of it. I mean, they've traded a lot of prospects away. I mean, I don't know. I don't get it. I was gonna ask you, what did you see anything that Borna said? What was he pretty excited about this deal, or what?
Borna, I think, was more excited about the prospects the show pods kept and didn't have to trade to get Cease than actually getting Dylan Cease. But again, look, all they have to do is just get in. If they get in, and if some of these guys, I know they're very high on Jackson Merrill. So if some of these guys that they have in their farm system that they didn't trade away, if they start, with that pitching staff, if that pitching staff stays healthy, I mean, it's going to be interesting. The only thing I have to say to this is Ohtani owns Dylan Cease. So if you got Dylan Cease, because we're gonna compete against the Dodgers. Ohtani kills that dude. And all my boys in Chicago on the South Side, they all, they tell me they vouch for that. They told me, they said, hey, Juan, as long as Dylan Cease doesn't pitch to Ohtani, he's going to be pretty good for them.
I by the way, shout out to Dennis Gonzalez for the stray out of left field that the Rockies just want to be noticed. Shout out to the homie Brian Kilpatrick. I just
and the Rockies have just entered the race for the Danny Duffy Award tonight. So
hadn't I may be wrong, but hadn't the White Sox already announced that Dylan Cease was their opening day starter too?
You know what? I don't know. I mean, that's it had to be their opening day starter. I mean,
I don't
there's
even
nobody
know.
else. There's nobody else on that rotation that should have been
Mark Burley. Like that's how far the roster is for me, as far as knowing who's still there.
And then Tom Seaver's their number 2. Is that what you're saying?
Can I say though, I am still like the Blake Snell, Jordan Montgomery thing is the novella that keeps on giving. Like it's still, I don't get it. I don't get it. And I'm just low key waiting for Jordan Montgomery to sign with the Dodgers. Just out of principle now, just because since they're getting the rings like Thanos, fuck it. Let's just add another one and just get it. But I'm still so blown away by that.
So do you think it's the player now, or still kind of like their agent trying to get them the most money, the most years? Or I mean, you think the teams have offered like deals to them, and it's just kind of like I want this and I want this.
I mean, listen, I want a Rolls Royce, but I don't have Rolls Royce money. Like that's just what it is, right? And I think, I mean, if it's true that Blake Snell has an offer from the Yankees or had an offer from the Yankees that was multi-year and he turned it down, well, they had the offer in place and they turned it. I mean, now they need a starter. I mean, it sounds like Garrett Cole's in a world of hurt, no pun intended. But like, I just don't get it. Like, I think, obviously everyone wants their market value. Everyone wants, what they've worked for. Everyone obviously works towards free agency as well. All that's fine and dandy. But if there's this much of a gap between expectation versus reality, then at some point you have to kind of look at the player and the agent and say, hey, what are you doing? Like, what are we doing here? Because in order for us to make this work, we got to meet in the middle. And I still think it's going to end up being like 1-year deals. Like, I don't even think it'll be multi-year deals at this point. Because at this point, pretty much everyone has kind of figured out what they're doing for the year. And if there's a team out there that's like, hey, we'll give you 40 for the year, you're an additional piece that we need. But I mean, that also tells you where the teams are at too. It's not like they're chomping at the bit to go out and give them whatever they want either.
Babyface, that's a very good question, because something is going on here that teams are more willing to trade assets than spend money. Like with the Yankees, okay? You get the news with Garrett Cole. All right. You have Jordan Montgomery there and Blake Snell. Wouldn't it just, this is the New York Yankees.
Yeah.
And I can understand why Yankee fan must be pissed and be like, why are we like, we used to be like the Dodgers.
And
like
I
money.
Their first reaction was they were trying to trade Cease. They opened up the talks to try and get Cease instead of going after one of those guys.
Well, and even then, like, again, unless Blake Snell or Jordan Montgomery is wanting like $75 million a year, or even like, sub 50, I guess we'll call it. If your star pitcher is down for an extended period of time, and right now, if I'm not mistaken, it's the first 2 months of the season, correct?
Well, they don't exactly know. They're just kind of saying 6 to 8 weeks, possibly. He's going to get checked out in LA by
Elitrosh.
Yeah, Elitrosh. Yeah. So
well, and also if you're getting looked at by Elitrosh, that doesn't really end up going well either, because that might mean surgeries on the horizon. I hope that's not the case. I don't wish that on anybody, but that kind of tells you where it heads. But it doesn't, honestly, it really doesn't make a lot of sense unless your agent is actively sabotaging the whole thing. Like this. We go back to Cody Bellinger. That deal was nowhere near the spectrum where I know Scott Boras wanted to be in. Nowhere near that. Wasn't even in the ballpark. So, whatever he's expecting with Blake and Jordan, that's kind of wild, because for the Yankees here, like Juan said, we're not talking about the New York Metropolitans. We're talking about the fucking Yankees. They wanted to trade for Dylan Cease instead of going out and getting Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery. George Steinbrenner turned over in his grave when that leaked. Guaranteed.
Well, it could be what Michael Carrillo is saying, which the Yankees are past the last cap. And maybe what it is they're gearing up to re-sign Soto because
100%.
that dude looks like a monster right now in spring training. Like the home runs that he's hitting over there are just completely nuts. But I also just find it the tactics that and I don't know if this is coming from Blake Snell or if this is coming from Blake Snell's agent, but the tactics that he is using just to me are coming off to be a little needy with this blatant narrative that is being pushed that the Angels now that he wants to play for the Angels. And now that there's rumors of JD Martinez and Blake Snell are going to team up for the Angels. I'm just like, wow, bro. So like, I get it. Get your money, but and there's been proof of this in the past. Artie has given money out to probably handed out contracts he shouldn't have handed out. But this whole Angels rumors, Babyface, do you buy any of this that the Angels are seriously in on Blake Snell and JD Martinez?
There was a thing I saw the other day saying that Moreno, I mean, they're under, it's close to like maybe like 100 million from like last year. And so he doesn't want to spend money this year. They said they want to stay low. They want to not spend what they did last year. So that doesn't make sense either. I mean, why would they go out and pick up? They have the space. They have like, they can pick up these two guys probably for what? 50 million, 60 million, right? Roughly.
Assuming Boris doesn't want $1 billion. I mean, because that's what it sounds like he wants. I mean, they also signed Marcus Stroman over these two guys.
Yeah. It's a giant game of chicken. Look, I want to get into this because some people brought this up on the chat before we run out of time. The Gavin Lux situation. And I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. My initial thoughts when I felt bad for Gavin Lux, because I when I heard that they made the move, I thought they have to trade him now because I feel like they have completely squashed this kid's confidence. But I don't know if you guys read the article that Plaschke wrote and asking if this was even fair to Mookie Betts, to ask Mookie Betts to play shortstop. Alonso, what do you think about this whole situation with Gavin Lux and Mookie?
I actually agree with that take. It's kind of unfair to Mookie because for me, and I said it in our group text, the only kind of issue I have with it is obviously they moved Mookie to second, and then the plan was Gavin to be the everyday shortstop, at least for the most part. And then 2 weeks before, I guess, the season, like depending on what season you're looking at, but we'll call it 10 days. They make the switch. And apparently the switch was, if I'm not mistaken, because Gavin really couldn't nail the throws from short to first, which that's, that obviously you have to have a shortstop making those throws. It sucks for Gavin, but what I've liked that he's come out and said is that he understands he has, got to move on. Like the season's upon us. Mookie and I have been out there working, turning double plays, kind of figuring out that dance partner situation. It's definitely not fair to Mookie, and it's definitely not fair to Gavin. It's not fair to either. I'm just I was a little shocked, I guess, that the Dodgers didn't have another failsafe for shortstop because of how important that position is on the diamond and in the infield. And that had me a little surprised. So it wouldn't surprise me if at some point maybe they do make a move for that position. I don't know. But I will say, I do like that Gavin understands that the ultimate goal is to win. And as long as he's out there playing every day or is playing as much of it, what it is, I think he even said something to the effect like him and Mookie don't necessarily care as long as they're playing and they're winning. But when you get into a slump, are you going to have that same mindset, right? That's kind of when you're going to see what somebody's made of. So I feel bad for Mookie because Mookie kind of got shit on a little bit by some people in the sense of, oh, well, you're taking, Lux also got shit on, mutually about all this. Listen, Mookie Betts is a really good baseball player. I mean, when they put out that top 10 of shortstops and Mookie was number 2 and he hasn't played shortstop since he was in high school, that's kind of bananas. And I mean, if there is a guy that I guess isn't a bad guy to fill that hole or fill that gap for the time being, it's him. but I'm just a little just surprised as to how it went down. But I think somebody said it in the comments. They absolutely put a lot on Gavin, but he's also coming back from a pretty gnarly injury. And so that's an important injury for any guy that's, turning to the right to throw. And I'm not sitting here saying that's what's caused all this, but he can't make the throws, right? And that's just what it is. And the Dodgers, I will say I'm glad the Dodgers did that now instead of in season, because if they did it in season, I think that would absolutely crush Gavin's confidence. Whereas now they can talk through it.
Babyface, what? Come on in on this. Before we hear from you, Doom Sal has an update for us because Doom Sal was in the locker room today. The players and the Dodgers staff are fully behind Lux. Robert said he will need more time figuring things out at shortstop. Thank you, Sal, for that update. Babyface, what are your thoughts on this whole thing, this Lux Mookie thing?
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Gavin hasn't played, for a year, right? Since his injury, right? So he's getting reacclaimed to playing. The throw from short, and then the issue is he was kind of having still problems from second, right? So I don't know. Now to me, it's kind of like, is that kind of the yips, right? Is he getting like kind of the yips when he's getting the ball and kind of? Because I mean, we know that his bat, he's had a pretty good spring with the bat. So it's just the defense, and it's not even like the defense when he was at short. It was just the throws. Like he wasn't. It's just when he got the ball, it's kind of just throwing. And I do kind of agree with what you were saying, Juan. It's like it sucks for him because I think it has gone in his head. He had like a bad game a couple of days ago. Like that one throw to second, then there was a pop up that dropped in between him and Taylor, and then when he came up to bat, he got called out on the time. So it seemed like his head was out of the game, and so I think it's kind of all those things are kind of just kind of getting to him. And I think, yeah, I mean, the only thing to get him over that is just continue to play, right? Just to continue to go out there and play his game that he's been playing his entire life. And we'll see. I mean, another solution, right? They could have went just with Miguel Rojas, right? That's what they did last year as short, but I think now they're committed to like having Jason Hayward in the outfield as well. So they didn't probably want to do that. Hey, we'll keep Gavin at second. We could put Mookie back in right field. So I think now this is kind of the play that they got to go with. And I don't know if they will make a trade. I mean, you mentioned this before, Juan, is they moved Mookie to second because they wanted to kind of get him off his feet in right field. And now they're putting him in the most demanding position on the infield, right, at shortstop. So, I mean, we'll see. I mean, you kind of expect them to make a trade somewhere down the road.
Okay, but this is what I haven't heard yet, and I haven't heard it from anyone in the chat, and that is, doesn't the Dodgers front office share some of the blame in this? Like, they had, and I know Michael Carrillo has said this for the many times, that shortstop is a position of weakness in the organization overall. These guys were prepared to hand Lux the starting shortstop position last year. He tore up his knee. For them to all of a sudden, after a week and a half, like decide we're moving off of this. This feels like, and I know Alonso, I think, said this in our group chat too, where it's like, you guys spent $1 billion in the offseason, and now you're telling me, maybe we have a problem at shortstop. Like, look, I know that Friedman has done a lot. He's had a lot of success over the offseason. But what's going on here at shortstop, this is where I don't know if rash is the right word to say this, but I feel like in spring training to lose your job, like I would have thought if this move came at the end of April because it was obvious that Lux was costing the Dodgers games, okay, I get it. You got to do it. But in spring training, to pull the trigger this quickly, and then they put Mookie, and I feel, in a super tough position, because if Mookie sits there and says, dude, I don't want to play shortstop, then Mookie's going to be a selfish guy. Mookie doesn't care about it. So of course Mookie's going to go out there and he's going to say, hey, I'm all about winning. But at the beginning of spring training, you heard it from Gavin Lux saying, "Hey, man, I started my career as a shortstop. I'm more comfortable there." And I get it that when Lux was in the organization, you had Corey Seager at short and you had Trey Turner at short. There's no way you're making it up to the big leagues at short, bro. We have to move you to another position, right? So of course, Gavin Lux is going to go to another position. But after a week and a half, and I get it, the throws were not, his throws seemed very weak. But the guy hasn't played in a year and a half. Like, didn't he deserve at least maybe the first month of the season to try to show whether he can make progress and make this work?
Well, I mean, again, and the other thing too with the Dodgers, to a point that you made, right? When you look at the Dodgers prospects, it takes you. I mean, obviously, Dodgers prospects are highly regarded for the most part, right? It takes you until number 13 to get to a Dodgers prospect that is a shortstop, and that's Joendry Vargas. And I mean, rookie, like probably won't make it till the show until 2028, according to the prospectus here. So, I mean, it's not like the Dodgers haven't known that shortstop is a dry position, if you will, especially after losing Corey Seager. You lose one of the best ones in baseball, and the plan was Gavin Lux. Here we are, right? And so I think that's where that kind of falls on. As far as that goes, is it should fall in the front office for just not. I think Bill Plaschke said misguided, I think is the word that he used. But really, right now, when you look at the roster, aside from Miguel Rojas and maybe Chris Taylor, who can be your everyday shortstop? And do you want those bats in the lineup? Chris Taylor's, yeah, but really, you still have to find something, to make Mookie work, right? So, and they want to get him off of his feet. So that's why I agree where it's a little misguided, because it puts you right back in the same situation with Mookie, because that's probably the hard, especially without the shift or with the shift rules now. That's a really hard position to play to begin with. But then when you're kind of limiting how the guy's moving about, it's just as hard on his feet as it is in the outfield. So that's why, I mean, the Rojas extension doesn't look bad now, right?
No, not at all. But look, I get it. Lux is in there because of his bat. And not only his bat, but he's a left-handed bat. Babyface, is it totally out of realm to think, okay, let's platoon Lux in the first month of the season, and when a lefty's on the mound, you throw Kike out at short, or you throw Chris Taylor out at short. Is that just the wrong approach to do this?
Well, that's kind of what I thought was going to be happening right from the beginning, right? Because they had those guys. They have Taylor, they had Kike, and they have Rojas that they had platoon in at short. So you thought there was going to be some type of platoon with Lux. Being like you said, yeah, I mean, it does seem like they pulled that trigger pretty fast, right? I don't know if somebody come up with how many actual attempts did he have at shortstop in spring training? Well, my guess is probably under 10, right?
Yeah, that's a fair guess, I think.
I mean, I feel like not enough of this conversation has been directed at the Dodgers front office. But it's like, look, this guy was working out at Dodger Stadium.
Yeah.
You guys weren't seeing any of this? Like, this all just popped its ugly head. And this is why I feel bad for Lux. And this is why the organization's job, in my opinion, is to put these players in the best position to succeed.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they did that with Lux, like by making him a shortstop when he hasn't played shortstop in who knows how many years. I mean, at least Mookie had some time at second base last year before they decided to move him to second base. That to me is just like, I feel for Lux on that end.
Well, and also, I mean, Juan Ramos in the comments hits the nail right on the head. Shortstop and third base are black holes for the Dodgers system. Absolutely. Like, if you look at their prospect rankings, like, again, 13 is the first shortstop on that list.
Well, they got Jake Geloff, who's coming pretty soon. He's gonna be pretty good.
Well, no, he'll be pretty good, but I mean, he's still a couple years away, and then he's a 26 on that list. So I mean, it's gonna be a minute. But even then, like to your point, Juanito, it's not like they didn't see Lux doing the thing every day. I mean, they should have been able to evaluate that and get it from there. I understand to a certain degree why they went about it the way they did, but it doesn't necessarily mean that in my opinion, that I think it was the right move, because I do feel bad for both players, because one guy is absolutely, to a certain degree is still going to be a little defeated, but it sounds like he's picking himself up. The other guy has every reason in the world to have a gripe, because he was preparing to play a completely different position. And there is a lot of people that say shortstop and second base are similar. They're not. They are two way different positions. So and let's also be honest. Mookie Betts, you could probably put him in every position on the diamond, and he'll probably be pretty good. So I mean, the Dodgers are lucky that they have that stopgap. But long term, what's the plan? That's really the question I have right now. Is okay, if Mookie's the shortstop this year, what are we doing for 25?
Yeah, exactly. I want to give a quick bienvenido Alejandro, who is joining us from Colombia. Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things, man, where I don't want to say that it already to start the season you're behind the 8 ball, but the fact that the whole reason to move Mookie to second base, and I think Juan Ramos had said this, was to lighten his load. Dude, moving him to shortstop, that if not the most, it's at least one of the most demanding positions in the game.
And might as well have him catch while you're at it too. I mean,
right? Let Kike catch. Let Kike catch. It's just one of those things. It really surprises me, because this organization is so meticulous about everything, and for them to all of a sudden make this move that quickly, unless something and it comes out later on that a conversation was already made, but it just if they felt like this already about him, then maybe they tried addressing it in the offseason and they weren't able to go ahead and pull off a trade. But I just again, I feel bad for Gavin Lux. I think he's been put in a pretty untenable position. You're on mute, Alonso.
Oh, sorry. It's a no-win situation, no matter how you look at it, right? But if they're looking ahead to 25, I mean, Willie Adames, Tim Anderson, potentially Miguel Rojas, Ahmed Rosario, Paul DeJong, Garrett Hampson, Joey Wendell.
Well, but the thing is, it's like, if you're the Brewers now, didn't the price just go up for Willie Adames if the Dodgers call?
I honestly think someone said it here earlier if Devin, and hopefully Devin Williams is okay, but if he's not okay, I think they're going to have a fire sale sooner than we all expected. And it wouldn't surprise me if they move on from him before the deadline, including Devin. Even if Devin is hurt and everything is planning on the trajectory is to be good for 25, wouldn't surprise me if that happens. But I mean, it's one of those where that market next year isn't all that elite either, so you're kind of in a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. But Mookie Betts, in my opinion, I mean, I don't think that's the long-term solution for shortstop, right?
No, I mean, they're going to have to do something, and that's why I'm just so shocked that they pulled the trigger on this, because now you can't go back to Lux at short.
No, I think you can. I honestly think
you really think like if something happens to Mookie or something like that, you could put Lux back at short after what they did to him?
I mean, I think you can if it's really the throw, right? If it's really the throw, then you work on the mechanics of that throw and figure all that shit out. If that's really what it is, then that's what it is, right? But if it's something more, then that's an issue. But if, from all indications, they talked about it, it's the throw from short to first, which, if you've ever played baseball, that is not a short throw. That's a pretty long throw. So it could just be working on transfers, all sorts of fundamental stuff. But if that's what it is, and that's truly what it is, then cool. We also have to remember this guy hasn't played a lot of baseball since 2021, if we're being completely honest. That's almost 2 years. So it's a little bit of a curve, giving him the benefit of the doubt to kind of get back to where he needs to be. But if that's really what it is, you absolutely can put him back there, because it's not like this isn't a kid that doesn't have confidence. I mean, he was talking about it, right? When they quoted him, I'm just out here because I want us to win games. He's doing what he needs to do for the team. That's what you want to hear out of those guys. The clubhouse, as Sal said, he has the clubhouse, right? The clubhouse is all there for him. So it's just a matter of kind of putting the rest of the pieces together. Michael Negrete is a fucking savage, by the way. As I said, Tim Anderson, he put out there, no, Tim Anderson can't take a punch. Well done, sir. Well done.
Yeah. So look, that's going to do it for this show, guys. We can't thank you guys enough for joining us on the live. As I said before, if we have any new people, I know we had someone from Colombia listening to us. Make sure that you are subscribed to our YouTube channel. Make sure that you hit that notification button. Write us comments. We have a whole bunch of other material on the YouTube channel that you can see. Yes, sir.
Real quick. So next Wednesday is the opener, right? And I posted this a couple of days ago. I'll continue to post it.
Wait, it's next Wednesday?
It's next Wednesday. So
Holy
we won't go live at 7 our normal time. We're going to go live at 3 a.m. So I know you guys are going to be watching the game, but come on, hang with us. We'll talk about what we're seeing on the game. We'll probably go for about an hour and then, we'll end that. But just come out and hang with us with the podcast watch party.
Please wake up early with all of us. Have coffee. Tequila.
So to be clear, Babyface, we're not going to do a live Wednesday night. We're going to go live to watch the game.
Correct. Unless you guys want to do a live Wednesday at 7 as well, and then we'll come back at 3.
Not a chance. I'm going to be asleep.
We're gonna have to play it by ear, but just under the bell, we got a super chat. A big thank you to Dennis Gonzalez. Looking forward to the Seoul Series. Ohtani needs to play the Deftones song "Korea" as his walk-up tune at the March 21st game. Los Deftones, go Dodgers.
Dennis Gonzalez with the deep cut. Shout out to the homies from Deftones.
Yeah. So again, guys, we'd love to have you guys all on, and we're going to react to the game as it's going on. I'm actually very excited about this. I can't wait to see the environment because that stadium, I believe, seats a little over 16,000.
It's like 17,000 people.
Like there's more people that you will go to a Laker game at Staples than what's going to be in there. So I expect that environment in that stadium to be loud, and offensively, I am not worried about the Dodgers.
No,
and with Tyler Glasnow going, I'm not. I'm going to be very, very curious to see Game 2, especially after Yamamoto's last 2 outings. I want to see if it's really he's the one just working on stuff. But please make sure that you guys join us on the live. I know it's going to be rough. It's going to be 3 o'clock in the morning.
It's 3 Pacific time.
3
Pacific. So it's going to be 4 your time, right?
So 3 a.m. Pacific for you West Coasters. This always fucks me up. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 East. Is that right?
Yeah. No. It's going to be 6 o'clock.
6 in the East.
Okay.
Yeah, 6 in the East.
So Cody's 6 o'clock.
Oh, okay, so he'll just be getting up to Bowflex, so it's the perfect time for him to join us and do the thing. So we'll be in good shape. But seriously, join us. We would love to have all of you come join us, talk some trash with us. Roger will obviously be undertonely under his breath talking shit about the Padres because he is the biggest supporter of the San Diego Padres that I know. And so we'll be there. So please join us, and maybe, just maybe, we can try to coerce Alicia to join us. I'm not holding my breath because she needs all of the rest. But if there's anyone that I know that loves opening day and Dodger baseball, it's Alicia Del Valle. So hopefully she can join us.
And so before we go, I'm going to announce the winner of the Danny Duffy Award. And the winner of the Danny Duffy Award goes to Canelo. Canelo got it because he's got really bad sunburn and he forgot to bring aloe vera. And because of the Bowflex comment. So congratulations, Canelo, on winning your first Danny Duffy Award. For those of you who aren't familiar with what the Danny Duffy Award, that award goes to the person who catches the most strays on the live. And today, Canelo, caught the most strafes. So congratulations. Please make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube. And if you guys are listening to us because you missed the live and you're listening to the podcast, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. But please make room to join us on these lives. As I said, we'd like to make this very, very interactive. So again, you ha sido su servidor, Juan Ramírez, de parte de mis colegas Alonso and Babyface. Nos vemos para la próxima. This episode of the Bleed Lows podcast has been brought to you by Bet Online. The game starts here. Nos vemos.